Good morning! Welcome to the final video in the How to Outline Your Novel series. This one is kind of a standalone. It is a review of a new software that was just released, Aeon Timeline 2.0. So 1.0 has been around for some time, 2.0 just came out, and this is my first chance to kind of peek under the hood and see what makes the app tick. Just to give you a quick overview, I am very excited about what this software does. You're going to learn all about how it can sync with Scrivener and how to use the timeline in this video. It's short, but it shows some of the broad functionality that you're going to want to use. I hope you're as excited about this app as I am, and I'm curious to hear it other way, so let me know in the comments. Anyway, with that said, we're going to jump right into the video and take a look at how we can sync with Scrivener. Okay, so let's dive right in. You start by selecting the template you'd like to use, in my case, fiction. I hit the choose button and it loads up a default timeline. And I can make changes to this, which I'm not going to do right here, but you will see them as we go through the video. This little pop-up here is your help file. I learned quite a bit from it, so I recommend spending a little time with it. But let's jump into the thing that you will care most about, I think, and that is the syncing between Aeon Timeline and Scrivener. So to link Aeon Timeline to a Scrivener document, all you have to do is go to the File menu, go down to Project Sync, and then choose. You double-click on your Scrivener document, and voila, just like that, they're linked. Now it's asking me for the Project Sync settings if I want to make any changes. I don't, so I'm just going to hit OK. And then you can see we have the Scrivener binder exactly as it appears in Scrivener. It's now here on the left-hand side over in Aeon Timeline, exactly as it would appear if we were normally writing in Scrivener. So you can see that I have all my acts and I've got all my various documents, and these are seamlessly synced back and forth. So I can drag, let's say, prologue into the timeline and it'll create an event, and now these two are synced. If I make a change to one of these, let's say I change the name of prologue to new name, it doesn't immediately sync it until I hit the sync button, but when I do, it's going to instantly carry those changes over. And that's both ways. So if I change it here in the timeline, it'll also reflect this change in the Scrivener document. So let's change that back to prologue, and then resync it, and we're good. As far as creating and managing timeline events, all you have to do is select on an event and you can see a great deal of information about it. So we've got a attention bar here, a location, and the participants. So we can link this to characters if we've created them in Aeon Timeline or in Scrivener. So I'm not going to do that right now, but what I will show you is a quick way to change the date. So I'm writing science fiction, and the default date that when I dropped it in and assigned it was March 19th of 2017. Since my book takes place a century in the future, all I have to do is change that date, and when I hit the tab button, you'll see that it automatically scrolled to where that event falls on the timeline. So it made that change for me. Now this is kind of my base point and everything will build from here, but because it takes place in a matter of days and not months or years, looking at this layout is not really friendly, so I need to drill down a little more, and you can do that by hitting this zoom slider here. There we go. So we're down to days. Let's switch it to weeks or months. Months is fine. So you can see I now have each month of the year, and I can begin dropping in other dates. Let's say the meetings chapter, and then Mendez, and each one will be automatically assigned a date. And I can manually line these up until I get them where I want them, but it's real fast to just drop in a bunch of events. Here's our entire first act, and now I can begin assigning these first acts with relevant details. So let's go to prologue, and what I do, I assign a color to each one of my point of view scenes. So Nolan is blue, and I'm going to change that to be blue. Dryker is green. So I know intuitively whenever I see a blue scene, that's from Nolan's point of view. This is from Dryker's point of view. But that might not be enough information right off the bat. So I will typically add arcs. And how you do that is you go to Entities, and you add whatever the relevant arc is. So we're going to say Dryker and the Primo is one of my big arcs. I also have, let's add another one, Nolan versus Delta. So there's a couple of our arcs. I'll add a whole bunch more. But where these are important is you can group things by specific items, arc, place, or character. So if we now select arc, you can see it's added the 2 arcs that I just made, and I can make more if I would like to. And to assign an event to these arcs, you can set it manually over here under roles, but for me it's easier to just drag the event. I drag it into the appropriate arc, and there we go. So this becomes important when you have tons and tons of events, because you may want to close off all the no arc events and only see, let's say, this 1 or 2 arcs. And a closed arc will still give you a little information. You can see where each of the events falls, so you know how populated it is. So this allows you to kind of granularly manage the appearance of your timeline, which for me has been enormously useful. So I'm going to show you one more snippet, which will be all of my events dragged onto the timeline. So you'll see kind of the completed version of what I put together. And I will refer to this over and over and over as I'm writing the novel itself. So this will be very, very useful to me through the writing of the novel Void Wraith. So hopefully this is some useful information. Let's jump into the last segment of the video, and thank you for your time. Okay, so as you can see, we have all of our events lined up, and each one has been assigned it a point of view color. I didn't do the last little bit of these, but I don't think it's relevant to show you how this works. It's just important to note that every scene that is in the novel has been dropped in, and I've given most of them an arc. So what you'll see, right now we're seeing this with no arc, so you see this gradual step down the timeline. But if you group it by arc, it's much more visually intuitive. You can see, okay, here's a bunch of Nolan stuff, and you can see where these timelines mix in, and you can kind of drill down and only focus on the part of the plot that you want to see. So if we collapse all these and then select one that we care about, let's say the Primo Pass, now we're only seeing what's in this timeline and can work with that at length. So it's a very visually intuitive way for you to lay out your timeline and to see all the information that you'd like to see at any given time. I highly recommend giving it a look if this seems interesting to you. I have nothing but good things to say about Aeon Timeline so far, and I'd invite you to give it a try and let me know what you think. So if you use Aeon Timeline and have something either good or bad to say about it, please feel free to leave a comment or just shoot me an email at chris@chrisfoxwrites.com and let me know what you think. I'd be happy to learn more about the program and just to hear what you think. So either way, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video.